everyone, it's Justine and welcome to a bulk card video, which I plan on releasing actually monthly for the year 2016. I'd made a whole bunch of really cute cards in bulk for Christmas and I thought you might enjoy learning how to make them. So I'm going to be using a paper trimmer, the MISTI stamping tool, or you can use a acrylic block or whatever you have, 5 pieces of white cardstock, black ink. You're going to need the pinks and green inks from Altenew, or 3 shades of each of those colors, white sequins, and the layered lily stamp from Altenew. Alright, so we're going to get started by making this card, and I'm going to show you step by step what you need to do. Now, when creating bulk cards, it's really important that you work in stages. So you're going to cut all your cardstock out, you're going to do all your stamping at one time, etc., so that you're not just working on one card and making 10 of the same card, but rather making 10 at the exact same time. So I'm going to speed up the videos in some areas so it's not boring getting in repeat. So let's get started. I'm using Nina Solar White cardstock in 110 pound, and I'm simply lining it up at 4 1/4 inches, cutting down the long way. So I'm just cutting it in half the long way down, and then I'm scoring them at 5 1/2 inches using my score tool. This is a Stampin' Up paper trimmer. It's really great because it has the score tool and the cutting tool in one. So it makes things really go quickly. Not as quick as the camera's going now because I have you on fast speed, but now I've just made all 10 card bases. The next step we're going to do is we're going to stamp the first flower layer. Now again, these are stamps by Altenew, so it means that the stamps are called layering stamps. This means that they stamp in a 1, 2, 3 pattern, stamp over top of each other in different shades. So I'm going to be using the lightest shade of the Altenew inks, and the lightest shade is Frosty Pink. And we're going to get started with that. So I'm going to give it a nice coat on there, and I am going to stamp it down onto my card. Now, if it does not stamp perfectly, that's okay. You can ink it up and stamp it again in the exact same spot. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to switch it out and just continue stamping our cards, and we're going to stamp all 10 of these 10 times the exact same stamp. So I'm going to speed you up once again until this step is over. While I'm stamping this, I just wanted to let you know that I stamped this stamp right here on a piece of computer paper as well. I accidentally filmed that off screen. So you want to stamp all 10 cards and then stamp just a scrap piece of paper, and I'll show you why later. The next thing you want to do is line up the second layer of the stamp. So I'm going to be stamping this time with Coral Berry, and this is the second lightest color in the set of 4. And you can see here, there's the solid image, and I'm going to grab this image here from the flower set, which is the next largest amount of solid space, I guess you could say. And I'm going to line it up exactly on top. And now what's so great with the MISTI versus stamping with an acrylic block or a stamp press is that I just need to line this up one time and stamp down each time. So if you screw up, you can actually just get rid of that card and then try again. But you'll get the placement a lot easier because you're picking up the stamp and your hands aren't getting in the way. With an acrylic block, you would have to line up this stamp over and over again in the same spot and try to stamp and see where you're stamping. And that's what makes everything super quick with the MISTI. So I'm going to go through and stamp all 10 of these this time. So you could actually choose to just leave your flower just like this instead of adding the third step. It just depends how much time you want to spend on your bulk cards. Overall, I found the 3 layers to be quite nice and striking, so I wouldn't recommend just doing the 2 layers. But again, if it looks all right to you, then it's absolutely fine. So the next and final step for stamping this flower is to stamp the final layer of the actual stamp itself. So I'm just going to remove this second part here, and I'm going to grab the last part, which is right here, and I'm going to layer that up. This can be a little bit more tricky to line up since it kind of has to line up perfectly, or it has to line up less perfectly, but you got to make sure the petal's on the right area, and because it's such a smaller amount of solid space, it could be a little bit tricky the first time to line it up. But overall, it didn't take me long. As you can see, I wasn't in fast mode there, probably about 10 seconds. And I'm going to stamp with Ruby Red this time, and Ruby Red is the third darkest color, the third one anyway, and that's going to just add that final bit of detail. Now at this point in time, we want to start thinking about the leaves, and this is where that scrap piece of computer paper where you stamped out the flower in the beginning comes into play, because I'm going to need to put that scrap piece of paper on top of my flower, and then I'm going to have to stamp the leaves on top. And I'm not using masking paper, and there's a reason, because masking paper would take me longer time to peel off, and I find the computer paper will stay in place for this stamping here. Didn't become that much of a hassle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that computer paper and I'm going to cover my flower, and I'm going to be stamping the leaves onto the 10 pieces of cardstock. So you can see it sticks in the beginning just because the stamp is brand new, so it's a bit sticky, but after I've inked it a couple of times, you'll notice that the mask doesn't stick anymore to the stamp. So I'm going to be stamping this here in some green ink from Altenew called Frayed Leaf. I think it's called Frayed Leaf anyway. All of your inks are written in cursive writing, and I'm never quite sure if that's actually what it says. Anyway, regardless, it's the lightest shade in the green pack. I'm just going to ink that up and stamp it on top of my mask, and you'll see that my mask creates a layer in which it is actually looks like it's behind the flower. It does not have to be perfect. Nobody's going to notice if there's a little bit of white in between the flower and the mask, but just try and be careful that the two colors don't really mix together too well. So while you stamp all 10 of these, the next step would just be similar to the flower. The leaf also has its own layers, so I'm going to be stamping it in the next darkest color, which is called Forest Glades, I believe it is. And then I am ready to go on that. So again, you do have to still mask it off, and then you can just stamp that the 10 times on the cardstock. So I'm just going to line it up on my MISTI here, as you can see, and I am going to pick that up and then simply mask off my area again, ink it up, and then you'll have that awesome, really layered leaf. Now, once again, you don't need to actually put the leaves on this flower if this seems to be a lot of work. I think in total, the 10 cards took me about, I would say, 30 to 40 minutes, so about 4 minutes a card it averaged out in the end. So I think that these make a really great gift, and you can give them out to friends or make them or whatever, or send them out yourself. And overall, I don't think 40 minutes for 10 cards is a lot of time. You do get faster at it, and the MISTI does definitely make it fast. It just needs a little bit of planning in order to get the masking down. Alright, so again, you just put that second layer on there the 10 times and stamp that. And then what you're going to need to do is think about how many leaves you actually want on the flower. So I put 2 leaves on my flower. You could leave it at 1, you can put 3 or 4, whatever you desire, or none. That would work as well. So step 8 would just be to repeat as desired. For as many stamps as you would like, or as leaves as you would like on this, then that's what you're going to actually do. So I'm just going in and I am stamping the second leaf. I just finished those up off screen so that the video doesn't end up being too long. I'm going to go in now and I'm going to be stamping both the sentiment as well as the inner, I don't know what they're called, the parts of the flower, the little sticky things that come out. I'm going to stamp those both at the same time. They're far enough away from each other that I can stamp in 2 different colors and it wouldn't make a difference. So I'm going to be stamping the part of the flower in Grapevine, which is the darkest of those pink inks. They come in a 4-pack, so it's really convenient. And then I'm going to be stamping the sentiment in black. So I'm doing those both at the same time to save some time. So once again, I'm just going to throw you in fast mode as I stamp all 10 of these. Now these are going to be kind of your final steps here. If you want to leave them as is, again, you're more than welcome to at this point. They look absolutely amazing. They're really great and flat, and they're perfect for a card set. You can stamp maybe the envelope if you'd like and just add them in a bundle, or send them out all individually, whatever you like. But the last part I just want to get done here, and that's scoring the card bases and then simply adding some embellishments, which I chose to add, but again, you don't have to. So for the embellishments, I decided to simply add some glue here. Now, I always put it on a piece of plastic here, and then I use my pick-me-up tool to put the sequins down. and I just kind of dunk them a little bit in the glue here, and then I stick them down using my tool. Now, sometimes they'll get stuck, especially in the first little bit when there's a lot of glue. You might see a little bit of glue showing through, but after that they should be just no problem. So I'm adding 3 to each card. This is also a great way if you happen to get any ink on your card to cover it up. I know I had 1 or 2 little splotches there of ink that accidentally got on my card. So for some of them I put 5 sequins, some of them I put 3, some of them I put 7, just kind of depended on how the card looked, because I did get a bit of pink for whatever reason, I think on one card, and a smudge on the other. So again, I'm just going to add these really, really quickly here, and that will be the end of our card tutorial. So I really hope you enjoyed this bulk card tutorial. Let me know below in the comments if you yourself make bulk cards, or if you'd like to see more bulk card videos. Definitely the MISTI is an amazing tool to have in order to do bulk cards. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll have one out in February as well, and I already have them all made for the entire year, so the whole series is already made, so it'll definitely be going on, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Here's just another quick look at that card one more time and how gorgeous it is against a backdrop. All the supplies used are linked to below in the video description or on my blog. Here you can click to visit my blog up at the top. Over on the right you can click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel, or you can click on the moving video if you want to see my last video that I created. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. See you next time.